What's going on, my pretty pandas? It's your huggable hipster here, and welcome back to another Psychologically Gaming, where today's character we are going to dive into is Dutch Vanderlyn. Now, I don't normally write scripts out for a lot of my Psychologically Gaming characters. I usually have just mental notes, and I just go from there, and I see where the wind takes me. I was in the car grocery shopping. I was helping my mom out. Long story. I'll probably tell it as like a story time on my other channel. But yeah, I was just, there. I was helping my mom. I was in the passenger side, and I was writing out all of my notes for today's episode. So bitch, buckle in, because we about to get fancy. So to give you guys a little bit of background of the character Dutch, he was born to an unnamed Dutch father and an English mother named Greta. Now, little is known about his younger days, but it is kind of speculated that his father fought for the American Civil War and he died in battle, and it's heavily implied that it might have been Gettysburg. Dutch valued liberties among everything else, living the independent entrepreneurial lifestyle of the day and age of where you could live. And he actually owned land with his partner Annabelle. Now, in the first game, you see that Annabelle is his partner in crime. He really loved her. And also, fun fact, I know this has nothing to do with the Dutch, but back in the days of the Wild West, when things were just as wild as they could be, if you were a woman, you could actually vote. Back in the day, if you had land, if you would own land, you could vote. And nobody says that. All the feminazis want to get up in arms about being like, we want our rights, we want our rights. No, you had your rights. You have your rights all along. You just didn't want to see it until the 1920s. You could vote. You could physically vote if you owned land. It is a fact. It is a physical fact. It's in the history books. It's online. You can research it. You just do your due diligence and research, okay? Don't at me. But I just wanted to put that in as a little interesting tidbit of the Wild West that they brought into this game, which I thought that was pretty cool. Even though you do see the feminazis in the game going crazy and they're like, we want our rights. Well, you have rights. You just have to own land. Now, Dutch is a very complex character, and he finds joy and pleasure in pleasing others' wild fantasies of laying at a beach somewhere in Tahiti, sipping on coconuts, and escaping from the world in which they live in and the world in which they are exiled from. Dutch, also like a fine wine, robust and will knock you off your feet given the chance. I've got a goddamn plan was his choice phrase throughout the game. He always says that whenever he's scrambling in his thoughts to get through the next word or moment, that he's trying to think of something, an excuse, whatever it may be. Now, like every antagonist in a video game, you guessed it, Dutch has a god complex. He has this high and mighty attitude towards everyone, and he thinks that he owns everyone because he thinks that they're his property. Now, also to another extent, I feel like he has abandonment issues from his early childhood, from his father going off to war, from his mother really not being there as much. Now, Dutch is also the kind of character that is delusional, self-righteous, and will pick a fight with anyone just so they remember his name. In his mind, he should be remembered because he's Dutch. He will put a stranger before Arthur, who is dying on a cliff at the hand of Micah. Think about this for a second. He will put Micah, of all people, before Arthur, just so he doesn't have to face his own ego. He'd rather let Arthur die than basically throw away his already bruised ego. Needless to say, Dutch is a multifaceted character that you love one minute and you hate the next. You see the humanity in him, you see the struggle, you see the bruised, battered ego that he carries, and you just wonder why. Why? Why in the hell are you carrying this bruised, battered ego when you've built basically a society of people around you in this camp, in this homestead, that trust you, that respect your opinion, that know you from the beginning? Why not just throw that bruised, battered ego away and say, I give in, let's be a family and let's conquer this world together and go to Tahiti and sip on them damn coconuts? Now, for those of you who want some definitions as to what a god complex and abandonment issues are, I will put them up on the screen right now. A god complex is a psychosis based on uncontrolled narcissism, inflated arrogance, and a perceived need to subjugate and or ridicule the individuals deemed to be inferior and unworthy. Now, abandonment issues are completely subjective to the person experiencing the abandonment issues, and emotional abandonment issues is more subjective emotional state, which people feel undesired, left behind, insecure, or discarded. And this can stem from childhood. This can stem from anything really that kind of sparks it. It can spark from high school. It can really spark anywhere, honestly. Now you have some signs and symptoms of abandonment issues, and they are intrusive, debilitating anxiety, chronic feelings of insecurity, chronic depression, decreased self-esteem, feelings of loss or control over life, self-deprecation, and isolation. And also the, of course, obvious intrusive thoughts about said abandonment. So I feel like these two categories, the God complex and abandonment issues, really fit Dutch to a T, considering the fact that he experiences the overriding sense of needing to demean others that he feels unworthy. And also the fact that he had this ongoing battle with Como Driscoll, who killed his, in his words, his darling Annabelle. So we see this entire melange of different aspects that come into why Dutch is the way he is. But that was this episode of Psychologically Gaming. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I think I might actually do a Psychologically Gaming episode that will be in article format on Arthur, because I think his character is also very, very multifaceted, very interesting to look at, and I think you guys might be interested to see a different viewpoint of how at least I perceive Arthur, because he's a very unique character. He's very strong-willed, but he's also incredibly vulnerable. But if you guys like my face and want to please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell down below, because you know this girl keeps hearing about the notifications. People ain't getting their notifications. It's true. People ain't getting their notifications. YouTube, TikTok, what are you doing? But stay casually nerdy, you guys, and I will talk to you all in tomorrow's episode of Resident Evil Remake 2. Peace.